It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is Expresso and S3, and our next guest lover planes and flying with Spark when she took her first flight. At the age of 5 years old, believe it or not, she headed straight to flight school after matric, and through bank loans made by parents, part-time jobs, scholarships, she progressed to the aviation career path to become the first black South African female to fly the Airbus A380 with the Emirates airline. I mean, this is incredible.
Incredible stuff. Now, joining us via the video call method that we are so used to these days, but it's always the same thing. And here to share more about her journey with flight is pilot, entrepreneur, and digital artist. It's Amanda Kandawire-Khoza in the building. Hello, hello. How are you doing?
Hello, hello.
I feel so at ease. I can just tie my seatbelt and relax. Be in good hands here, Carl.
You can hear that pilot voice really. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just reached altitude with one of the most inspiring South Africans on the planet.
Yes.
Please fasten your seatbelts and, of course, make sure that your tray table's in the upright position. Let's go. Right, Amanda, welcome. I know you've heard that too much, but we'd love to know about your journey to becoming the first black South African female to fly the Airbus A380. I'm sure it is such a burden to bear. People asking you this question all the time, but we want to ask you this one last time. Tell us the journey.
Well, it all started off with a little girl that just had a dream of becoming a pilot. So being the first at anything was never the intention. I just wanted to fly planes. So as you guys have rightly said, I started flying school straight after matric. And that was 11 years before I started flying the Airbus A380. So my career starts off with me flying for a local regional carrier, and then I moved on to the national carrier, and that's where I got my Airbus experience. So as life would have it, most airlines require you to have prior Airbus experience before you fly the Airbus A380, and I had that. So that happened to be the final piece of the puzzle for me to get onto that particular airplane. So in total, it's been about 13 years now since my flying journey started. And it's been a long road of incredible joy, lots of tears, lots of prayer, and lots of good and bad has happened, but all of it needed to happen for me to be ready to fly the world's largest passenger jet.
I mean, there's so much good to speak about this, and I even compare this to a lot of my friends that have done a similar thing. It's just not easy. The amount of time, the amount of hours you need to get for flight, the studying and everything else involved in it. No easy feat whatsoever, but you've done that, and it's been an incredible achievement. But unfortunately, as of late, we've been dealing with another obstacle, and this time with the airliner ever was sadly cut short, I believe, with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, which ultimately meant that you lost your job. So can you maybe share a bit more about the impact of this on the aviation industry in a whole, obviously your career too, and what the next steps are?
So COVID basically brought my aviation career to a grinding halt. I mean, I was flying the one day, and the next day countries were closing their borders, which in turn meant that all my flights would be removed from my roster indefinitely. And then fast track a couple of months later, I ended up being retrenched, which meant that I had to move back to South Africa. But I knew that the aviation industry back home was just as bad, if not worse, because of the pandemic. So I personally made the conscious decision to not job hunt and to then spend the time focusing on my entrepreneurial aspirations.
You know what? Just listening to you now, you have the perfect pilot's voice. I think more of the planes that I fly should have your voice in it. It's just, I feel relaxed. I feel at ease. I feel like we're at a very high altitude. Anything can happen, but with you, I'm safe. I don't know what it is, but it's great. So let's talk about your passion. And I know that you have a massive passion for female pilots to be able to spread their wings as well. And you have started the Fly Like a Girl business to expose children to aviation and STEM through play. How did the idea come about, and what do you have on offer to help open up the minds of kids?
So I was fortunate enough to get exposed to aviation at a very early age. And I had parents who were very supportive of my dream. So even though we didn't know any pilots and I didn't know anyone in the aviation industry, I believed in the dream that I had, and I had people around me that supported me. But it was very early on in my career that I realized that wasn't necessarily the norm. And all this learning for me was happening in a time where the world was constantly going on about how there's a lack of female pilots and there's a lack of black pilots. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, well, how do you expect people to get into an industry they've never been exposed to? And it also becomes so much harder to envision yourself in a space when you've never seen anyone that looks like you. So I felt compelled to do something about it. And for me, in order to expose people and to educate them and inform them, I felt like we had to go to the very beginning of where kids learn things, and that's through toys. So that's how Fly Like a Girl was born. And it was just from a place of wanting to expose children to the world of aviation in the hopes of making it a viable career choice for them. So I've started off with a range of aviation-inspired puzzles and logbooks. And people often ask me, why have I decided to specifically target kids, younger kids at that? And that is because younger kids play with their parents. And sometimes it's the whole family that needs the education and not just the person that has the dream. So if kids are growing up in a culture where everyone believes that people that look a certain way or are a certain way can be anything, then I feel we're better off in letting girls believe that they can be whatever they want later on in life.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And I love the fact that when you were faced with an obstacle which prevented you from potentially carrying on with this dream job, you didn't let it stop you. You carried on pursuing something within the space, and I absolutely love that. I love the fact that you're also inspiring. So my question for you now is basically to ask you to maybe just share some more advice for the Mzansi, for any budding pilots out there, and especially, like you said, for the women that are watching right now. I think you truly are an inspiration. You speak a lot about empowering women as well, and maybe considering it's Women Month, something that you could just inspire young potential pilots out there with as well.
Well, whether you want to be a pilot or anything else, I think women just need to remember that we are capable of anything. And if you happen to find yourself in a space where you feel as though this is not what God called me to do, this is not the vision that He had for my life, the onus falls onto you to get yourself out of that situation. So it's important that you believe in yourself and you believe in your dreams and you put the work in and keep the faith. And it's not always going to be easy, but when the chips are down, we have to trust God's grace and continue betting on ourselves.
Whew.
I love it.
The goosebumps are here. Thank you so much, Amanda. Your story is inspiring. Have the best week ahead, and thank you for sharing every single bit of, the tidbits of your journey with us. Every single one of those things could be a breadcrumb to somebody else's success. So thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me.
Love it. I mean, that's a testament to what you can do when you put your mind to it. And, you shake off any societal pressures that can happen. I mean, there's so many for women. And I think it's a very good time for us to have that discussion with somebody who knows exactly what it's all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying Expresso Airlines. It's time to go to maximum altitude with Asher Dulab. Stand by.